South China Morning Post, 19th of March 2024, India friendly in an attempt to resolve its border dispute with aggressive China, Bhutan treads carefully. China is waging war on Bhutan as part of its all-out attack against the Indian subcontinent. According to observers, Bhutan's deliberate diplomatic approach to fortifying its relations with New Delhi without upsetting Beijing is demonstrated by Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay's recent visit to India, which coincided with ongoing border talks with China. India is strategically interested in Bhutan and China's ongoing negotiations to settle their border issue because of the potential consequences for regional security. Bhutan was currently at a crossroads, according to Aditya Gowdara Shivamurthy, an associate fellow with the Strategic Studies program of the Observer Research Foundation. Shivamurthy stated, "On the one hand, Bhutan is attempting to draw boundaries with its assertive northern neighbor, China. On the other hand, it requires India's assistance and cooperation now more than in the past due to an economic crisis and widespread migration. There are two critical triangular sites in India, Bhutan, and China. Delhi utilizes the McMahon Line to define the Sino-Indian border. It has two termini, one in the east, which marks the eastern end of the line, and the other in the west, which includes Doklam. China may be a danger to India's security interests in Bhutan due to its growing influence and presence there." In 2017, the Chinese People's Liberation Army (PLA) was building a road in the disputed territory when the Indian Army intervened to stop them. This led to a military standoff between China and India. China and Bhutan have conflicting claims about the region. Beijing believes Doklam is part of its Donglong region, while the former maintains the area as part of its territory. The three countries had diplomatic discussions in August 2017, ending the standoff that lasted almost 2 months. China ceased building roads, and India pulled out its soldiers. However, satellite photography has shown that China is still building military infrastructure in the area. According to Shivamurthy, who specializes in more general geopolitical and security-related issues across South Asia, Bhutan is eager to resolve its conflict with China. Bhutan must end its disagreements. India knows no other choice. Indeed, he continued, India has been regularly updated on the progress of the negotiations. Bhutan and China inked a 3-stage roadmap agreement in 2021 to speed up boundary negotiations. Following the 25th round of the talks, they agreed on parameters for a joint technical team to demarcate and delimit the boundary by October of last year. According to Shivamurthy, one goal of these discussions was to ease India's worries. There will be more talks with China. That won't alter. Bhutan cannot deny the existence of a powerful military and economic nation to the north. However, it aims to guarantee that Indian interests are upheld, he stated. It is a well-planned area. Bhutan, a tiny nation sandwiched between two powerful countries, plays a geopolitically significant role in the area. According to analyst Amit Ranjan, Modi's first overseas trip after taking office as Prime Minister in 2014 was to Bhutan. That was a brilliant move. According to Ranjan, a research scholar at the Institute of South Asian Studies, an independent research institute at the National University of Singapore, Modi started his foreign visits with a smaller South Asian country, demonstrating India's strategic priorities. Bhutan formally exited the Least Developed Nations (LDCs) group created by the UN General Assembly 1971 on December 13. According to Ranjan, Bhutan's relationship with India will become even more critical as it moves from being a least developed country, LDC, to a member of the World Trade Organization. Bhutan will need investment and capital to drive further progress. Thus, he stated, it will be a test of the Bhutanese leadership's ability to deal with India and their level of engagement with China. On March 13, the Indian cabinet ratified 2 agreements on energy efficiency and conservation measures with Bhutan. India and Bhutan have a robust economic alliance, particularly in the hydropower sector. India is Bhutan's biggest trading partner, a foreign investment source, and an importer of excess power, which accounts for over 40% of the country's income. India gave Bhutan's 12th five-year plan, which ended in October 2023, 45 billion rupees, $542 million, and it promised to increase its support in the following plan. To develop infrastructure and jobs, the kingdom plans to construct the 1,000 square kilometer Jelafu Mindfulness City, a green economic zone bordering the state of Assam in India. Given its unfavorable relations with some immediate neighbors, Ranjan said India needed to retain close ties with Bhutan. India's relations with Afghanistan are not good. The relationship with Pakistan is at its lowest point in the last 75 years. There is a smoldering anti-India campaign in Bangladesh. Thus, he stated, India wants Bhutan to stay in its good graces and not end up in China's lap. Bhutan is the only nation around India that is not a formal member of China's Belt and Road Initiative. According to reports in the Indian media, the government has suggested constructing a motorable route connecting Arunachal Pradesh and Assam via Bhutan. However, Thimphu does not support the plan unless its boundary with China is marked. Because of its talks with China, Ranjan said that Bhutan would initially oppose the proposal but eventually have to ease into doing business with India first. China, meanwhile, would be closely monitoring Modi's next visit to Bhutan, according to Ranjan. India worries about the Doklam situation. He warned that the Chicken Neck Corridor, which links India's northeastern states to the rest of the nation, may be shut off if there is a Chinese presence at the Rai Junction border. And I do not doubt that Modi will discuss it with the Bhutanese during his visit. The 1949 Indo-Bhutan Treaty of Peace and Friendship gave Delhi substantial authority over Thimphu's defense and foreign policies in exchange for security assurances and financial assistance. India remains a significant player in Bhutan's foreign affairs, notwithstanding revisions made in 2007 that gave Bhutan additional sovereignty. Professor Natasha Kaul of the University of Westminster, who specializes in international relations and studies Bhutan, stated that although the nation was constrained by its border and diplomatic ties with China, it was cautiously advancing its global engagement and democratic consolidation due to its close economic ties to India. Bhutan's relationship with China is based on the understanding of its long-term and multidimensional orientation towards India, and it is not hostile but amicable, the spokesperson said. Kaul stated that Bhutan's primary goal has been to maintain internal politics consistent with its national interest and prevent the fragmentation of its political arena into pro-Indian and pro-Chinese voices. He also mentioned that during the Doklam conflict, Bhutan deliberately remained silent to avoid conflict with either country. According to Kaul, tensions between China and India constitute the biggest threat to the Himalayan area nowadays, and the Doklam crisis came dangerously close to turning into a war. Bhutan's deft diplomatic handling of the standoff was a critical factor in its resolution, demonstrating that small states can contribute to the idea that conflict is not inevitable on a volatile frontier. According to former Indian ambassador to Bhutan Pavan K. Verma, the kingdom regularly consulted India before engaging in any conversations with China, a testament to the close connections between the two countries. We have been in talks with China for a long time over border issues. China and Bhutan still have unresolved border disputes. He added that to ensure that these talks with China are fair and strategically significant for both Bhutan and India, they constantly confer with one another about how to move forward.